Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Downtown Sports Podcast. Unfortunately, my two co-hosts could not make it today, so it's just me. This episode is all about fantasy sports. Unfortunately, if you guys had already drafted, this won't really pertain to you, but for those who are waiting until preseason ends or right in the middle of week 3 and week 4, which is the most popular time, this is going to fit your schedule perfectly. I'm a 4-time fantasy participant. I've won 2 out of 4 years that I've played. I'm pretty experienced. It's my favorite part of the podcast, talking about fantasy sports, especially fantasy football. And just looking at my cheat sheet that I've been making the last couple of weeks, obviously it was postponed a little bit because of the new news on Ezekiel Elliott's contract. Hasn't been signed yet, but it would make him the second highest paid running back in the league. So my rankings completely changed as far as running backs go. So going right into it, just looking at this draft in general, I don't really like. Some drafts are hard because you can't really predict, but especially in my league, which is a PPR, I would say as far as running backs go, I have like 16 or 17 deep running backs that I have faith in all of them. Some of them, are hassled by injuries, but for the most part, I have a lot of confidence, and the wide receivers are probably the deepest it's been in a while. Only position that's really bad this year is tight end. Couple rookies that could break out, and I have a really big breakout tight end that I'm going to talk about. But, tight end position's really bad this year. So, but just going about running backs, so basically how I'm going to set this up, I'm going to release this whole cheat sheet within the next day or two. But I'm just going to read off the top 5 and basically tell you my top 5 because hopefully you're inside your top 5 in the draft. If not, especially if you have a snake draft, then you're okay. But if you're in a regular draft, then you're in trouble. So, just going into it. At running back 1, I have Saquon. Pretty obvious there. 2, I'm going to put McCaffrey over Kamara. I think he's officially ready to. He was last year, but I think this year it's going to be an even bigger breakout year for him. He's going to get a ridiculous amount of touches this year, just like he did last year. But I think it's gonna play more into it. I think he's gonna get a lot more receiving yards this year. And then 3, I have Alvin Kamara. 4, Ezekiel Elliott. I had Zeke at my 9, but new contract. That's kind of the new thing about. It's just hard changing up your rankings. I had to flip flop all of these. That's why this took so long. This episode was supposed to drop 2 days ago. Yeah, so I have Zeke 4, and then 5 I have David Johnson. Le'Veon Bell just missing the top 5, and same with Todd Gurley, even though I have some concerns about his injury. So those are my top 5. I'm like I said, I'm gonna release the rest of them, but those are my best 5 that I have right now. And then my running back 2s. So basically, I'm gonna set this up. I'm gonna do running back 2s, wide receiver 2s, and tight end 2s. Basically, what that is, it's not exactly. It's not like in their actual depth chart they're the second best. They're the second. The second option. It's just running backs that wouldn't make my top 15 that I could predict a breakout for. So 1, I'm gonna go James White. Obviously, you saw what he did last year in PPR. He's huge. He gets a ton of receiving yards. He's I wouldn't say he definitely doesn't split time with Sony Michel. I'd put it at 60-40, maybe 70-30. I think this year it's gonna be 70-30 with Sony Michel taking 70% of the snaps, and he's definitely the first down back, but Brady goes to him a lot, and everyone knows the guy's losing arm strength. Excuse me. So I would say James White is in for another big year. Flex player, good bench running back, and even after that first year, I think Sony Michel's a little bit injury prone. He's been dealing with that knee since his sophomore year in college. So, sorry. Yeah, so he's gonna be my number 1 running back 2. My second on the running back 2s would be Austin Eckler. I have zero faith that Melvin Gordon's going to get a deal done by the start of the season. And I've definitely had some debates with some of my buddies about this, but I'm going to put Austin Eckler above Justin Jackson as their first down back. I know he's a little bit, he's like the quick hitter, and usually they put him in special situations, especially when you need a lot of yards. But even if that's the case, in a PPR format, standard's completely different. I'd go with Justin Jackson, but in a PPR format, I'm going Austin Eckler. I could definitely see him flexing for my team if I get him for the first 1 or 2 weeks. Adam Schefter just said the other day, there's both sides are holding tight, and even though Melvin Gordon isn't getting paid as much, that it's going to hurt him losing that large sum of money. I don't know exactly the number, so I'm not going to blab about that, but I definitely think that's big. At 3, I have Tevin Coleman. I love Tevin Coleman. It is a personal sort of, I wouldn't call it a fetish, but I've always liked him. I really just like I said, sorry, I'm blanking real quick. Just out of the backfield, those receiving yards, I think Matt Ryan, this is one of his best years as far as depth and position. He has 3 great wide receivers. I would say Calvin Ridley is better than Taylor Gabriel was, so that would put his big 3, Julio, Mohamed Sanu, and Calvin Ridley. And Austin Hooper is really progressing that from everything that I've read, so I think he's going to become a really good tight end in the future. I think he's going to have a really good breakout year. I'll talk more about him in a little bit. But yeah, Tevin Coleman, obviously he's the number 2 back, but I think receiving yards, I think he's a flex option, and he gets in there he gets a lot of snaps, so I have a lot of faith in him. I've always had faith in him. 4, I'm going to put Kareem Hunt. He's definitely a waiver wire pickup, but I could see him splitting time with Nick Chubb, honestly, especially out of the backfield. In a standard, I wouldn't draft him because I think they're going with Nick Chubb on the goal line. But PPR, he could definitely pick up some receiving yards. He's a good receiving running back. So I have faith in him. And then 5, I'm going to put Matt Breida. Obviously, he's the running back 1, possibly 2, depending on how fast McKinnon comes back. But, yeah, Matt Breida can get it done. Not as much receiving, but he's a good runner, downhill runner. I have faith in him. I'm going to put him at my number 5. All right, and going into wide receivers, like I said, this is one of the easiest years for wide receivers as far as I've seen. I would say, let me see. I would go 15 deep. I'd cut it right at 15 for guys that I have significant faith in. My number 1, I'm going with Devontae Adams. Pretty obvious there. I have a lot of faith in Green Bay's offense. Aaron Jones. My friend Aiden Barrett introduced me to him last year. I watched a lot of his tape this in the past 2 weeks when I've been making these rankings, and I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I think that's going to be, but it really won't play into it because Devontae Adams at the end of the day is Aaron Rodgers' number 1 option. 2, I'm putting DeAndre Hopkins. Excuse me, that's a mistake. That's what you guys probably want me to say. But 2, I'm going to put Michael Thomas. I've always loved New Orleans offense. I love Michael Thomas. He just got a great contract. I think that's going to be pretty motivating for him. He was my wide receiver 1 last year for 2 of my leagues. I loved him. He gets a ton of looks. And honestly, looking at their schedule, I really don't see too many issues as far as defensive back goes. So, where in Houston, I think DeAndre is going to be bogged down a little bit. But I think Michael Thomas is my number 2. 3, DeAndre Hopkins. Simple as that. I have a little bit of concern about Deshaun Watson. I know it's been reported that he's perfectly fine, but I have a little bit of concerns about him, especially coming off an injury of that significance. 4, this is where it gets controversial, but I have no issue saying this guy's name, Tyreek Hill. Big flyer. Patrick Mahomes likes to throw the ball deep, and when it's deep, it's to the fastest guy on the field. Tyreek Hill, he's going to have a better year than he did last year. Patrick Mahomes is going to have a better year than he did last year. The whole Chiefs offense is going to have a better year than they did last year. I have a lot of faith in this guy. I have no issue taking him. I have all my eyes on Tyreek Hill this year. I would love to get him as my wide receiver 1. 5, I'm going with Mike Evans. This is definitely bold, but when you look at their offense, Mike Evans had a top 10 receiving as far as fantasy goes, top 10, inside the top 10 for points in a PPR league. And that was his least number of catches last year and touchdowns. Or not touchdowns, just catches. So I have a lot of faith in him. I think they're going to utilize him a lot more. There's no real, quarterback switch off last year. Ryan Fitzpatrick was hindering that offense a little bit. I know he broke out. That's not what I'm talking about as far as production goes. I'm saying as a feel for a whole offense. And I think at the end of the day, Winston's going to go to his main man, 6'5", Mike Evans. He's a beast. In standard, I might even slide him up to 4 just because of how many touchdowns he's going to grab this year. A ton of expectations for him, high expectations. Wide receiver 2s. This list was a little shaky. I had a little bit of trouble crafting this. At number 1, I'm going with Deshaun Jackson. I think he's going to get a lot of deep looks. I think he's going to sort of take Nelson Aguilar's role for the last couple seasons with Wentz, and he's just kind of, I wouldn't say throw it out the window, but more of a he's going to extend it. I think he's going to get a lot of, especially in PPR. I don't know about touchdowns as much, but those deep balls are definitely going to come his way. 2, I'm going to go with, still a debate in my head. I'm going to go with Sammy Watkins. I think he's going to get a lot of looks. PPR, he's going to be a beast with Tyreek Hill. Let me see something real quick. Yeah, I was just looking up, but it didn't come up. Sorry, that was a waste of time. I don't feel like I did anything either. Yeah, I think he's just gonna get a ton of looks. I think they're gonna press Tyreek Hill a little bit. It's gonna give him an issue. But Sammy Watkins is a great number 2 option. I know he's getting up there in age, but I still have a lot of faith in him. Possible week-to-week flex depending on the matchup. 3, I'm going with Will Fuller. Definitely a lot of concerns injury-wise for him, but I think if the dude can stay healthy, he's a great number 2 option. He's a great deep threat. They're going to utilize him a lot. 4, just coming off reinstatement, Josh Gordon. I saw a stat the other day. Most of you guys know I'm a Patriots fan, but I saw a stat. When Randy Moss played with Tom Brady, 9.1% of his receiving yards or his receptions were 30 or more yards. And when you look at NFL history, Randy Moss is one of the best deep threats that have ever walked the planet. Josh Gordon with Tom Brady, 17.3% of his targets were for 30 or more yards. That's pretty impressive, especially when you're talking about touchdowns. A guy like Gronkowski isn't there anymore. I think, using his height and physicality, Josh Gordon's going to get a lot of looks inside the red zone. And especially when you're just talking, I mean, standard is something different because it's really focusing on touchdowns, but in PPR, just the volume and the yards this guy's going to rack up, I mean, I'm predicting a huge year for him. I really am. I can't see it any other way. The last time Tom Brady had a guy of this talent was literally Randy Moss. So I think it's going to be close to the same. There's not going to be as many deep balls. He's losing arm strength. Everyone knows that. Tom Brady's losing arm strength. But, I mean, I'm predicting a huge year for him. And then 5, I'm going with Robbie Anderson. Obviously not a wide receiver 2. He's the number 1. But like I said, I think Sam Darnold's going to really test it this year. Obviously, the guy throws a lot of interceptions, but I like the aggression. I think he's going to hone his skills this year. I think Robbie Anderson's going to be a huge part of that offense. That's basically it right there. All right, going into tight ends. Like I said, really hard tight end class to rank. I have my rankings only 20 deep. The rest of them I really can't predict too well. But what I've been hearing, just reading, is the Elite 3. So the Elite 3, Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, George Kittle. I have them ranked. I have them ranked in that order. I mean, you could flip-flop Ertz and Kittle just because I think Dallas Goedert might get a ton of receptions too. He showed what he could do last year. Definitely a sleeper tight end, especially inside the red zone. I think they might even go to Goddard more inside the red zone than Ertz. That's a very bold prediction, Eagles fans. You can come at me in the comments for that. 4, I'm going my breakout tight end of the year, Vance McDonald. Draft this guy, please. I promise you. Just draft him. I can't explain it to you. I just have a great feeling about him. He racks up yards. He's fast. He's physical. I don't really have a tight end comparison for him. But I would say he's the number 2 option in that offense. I mean, that might be bold. Again, like I said, I have a lot of inside these rankings isn't just based on performance. A lot of personal opinion, personal expectation. And Vance McDonald definitely is up there in that category. So I have him at 4. And then 5 was really tough for me. I'm going with Jared Cook here. And this could slide with Trey Burton or Evan Ingram, who I actually have really low. But yeah, I would put Jared Cook safely at the 5. I think Antonio Brown's going to get a lot of receptions, but I think they're going to go to Jared Cook in the red zone. I think he's going to rack up yards. He can run a little bit. So I have good expectations for him. And then my tight end 2s. This was kind of hard. Number 1, I'm going another breakout tight end of the year, Mark Andrews. I love him. I think They're going to use him a lot. I would definitely not sleep on this kid. 2, TJ Hawkinson. Like I said, another great physical tight end. Not as much of a runner, but he can get it done. 3, I'm going Mike Gesicki. I think that whoever's quarterback, Fitzpatrick or Rosen down in Miami, they're going to utilize this guy. And last year we didn't really see it, but I have a good feeling about him this year coming out of Penn State. He can definitely run. He's more of a receiving tight end than a blocking tight end, which we love in fantasy, especially since we really only have 5 prototypical receiving tight ends that I'm looking at right here. So I love that. What was that, 3 or 4? That was 3. So 4, I'm going with Ian Thomas. Greg Olsen could be one of the least reliable players in this entire league. And Ian Thomas got it done last year, so I'm gonna put him there. I would definitely pick him up as my tight end 2. I'm gonna look to do that. So that's gonna be fun. And then 5, Gerald Everett, definitely not a tight end 2. I think they're gonna utilize him a lot more. I know I've been saying that a lot about these tight ends, but I think the league, from what I've been reading, is trying to bring back the tight end position. So I think Gerald Everett can get it done. I would put him on my bench, tight end. I have no issue drafting him. All right, now going into the hardest part, because some of you are idiots and have no idea how to draft a fantasy team. And I know there's going to be at least one kid in my 2 leagues this year that's going to draft Patrick Mahomes in the 3rd round, and I'm going to laugh when it happens. So let me tell you right now, please wait on a quarterback, no matter what league you're in, what kind of scoring you're in. Wait on a quarterback. There are 10 good quarterbacks that I have no issue drafting. Obviously, Mahomes tops the list at 1. 2, Russell Wilson. 3, Andrew Luck. I have issues with his injuries, but I love him. I love him as a person. He seems like a great guy. I would love to meet him. I know it sounds a little weird, but I love Andrew Luck. If he can just stay healthy, he's going to perform. He's got a lot of weapons this offseason. 4, Aaron Rodgers. And then 5, my sleeper, Dak Prescott. He's going to have a huge year, especially if Zeke comes back. Amari Cooper's going to break out. He's going to have a great year. Michael Gallup. What was his first name? I forget his first name. I don't really care, though. I love Dallas' offense this year. I think they're going very far in the playoffs this year. Eagles fans, take note. I love their defense. I love defense. Okay, kickers. Basically just going off offenses. Harrison Butker, kicker for Kansas City. Great offense. 2, Justin Tucker. Self-explanatory. Just a great kicker in general. 3, Greg Zuerlein. 4, Will Lutz. And 5, the kicker for Houston, Fairbairn. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry if you're listening, which you're probably not. One of my 150 viewers. So that's basically based on offenses and how good you are as a kicker. So that's it for kickers. Defense, Bears, Rams, Vikings, Patriots have a huge defense this year. They got a ton of great rookies that I love. Picked up Michael Bennett. Duke Dawson's back from being out last year. He's a great lockdown corner. Jalen Ramsey type physicality. I'm speaking to my Patriots fans. You guys don't really care about him, but he's great. He's 2nd round pick. I love that pick. And then 5, the Colts. I could see Dallas up there too. Dallas is missing it by this much. Dallas is 6. But those are my top 5 defenses. And then I think the moment we've all been waiting for. I love making bold predictions. Some of these aren't too bold. Some of these guys I've already talked about. But these are my gold mines. You guys like to call them sleepers. But this is really a gold mine because I know that these guys are going to break out this year. It's not a prediction. It's a spoiler. New quote. Not a prediction. It's a spoiler. That's how. Oh, I like that. Not a prediction. It's a spoiler. All right. 1, Josh Jacobs, running back for Oakland, or not Oakland, the Raiders. I don't know where they're out of. I'm sorry. Great running back. 1st round pick or 2nd round pick. I don't know. Great player. In all of John Gruden's offenses, it's always featured a back that gets 290 or more touches. That ranks inside the top 5 for every coach of all time. That's insane. They're going to utilize this guy a lot. There's no other guy in the depth chart that's even going to challenge him. He's going to have a monster year. Put him at your flex. Put him at your running back 2. Put him at your running back 1 after week 6. This guy's going to break out. 2, Derrick Henry, monster year. They're not utilizing him enough. And I keep saying the word utilize, but in PPR, it's all about your touches. If this guy gets the touches, he's going to, look at him. He's 6'4". He's a monster. You saw his 99-yard run last year. They need to run the ball with him. I'm sick of seeing Marcus Mariota throw little lollipops up to Corey Davis. The guy's a bum. I need Derrick Henry this year. I want him at my flex. I want him at a running back too. I'm getting excited because I love these guys on this list right now. 3, Damian Williams, again part of the offense, self-explanatory. I have heard there's a rookie running back that's coming up to the system. He's a 6th-round pick that they're really looking at. That might hinder him a little bit, but I'm still sticking with Damian Williams. I could see him falling late in the draft. Good flex, really good flex option. PPR is going to be a monster. 4, Marlon Mack, breakout year, also with his rookie or second-year buddy, Kerryon Johnson. I can't say enough good things about Kerryon Johnson. He is my number 1 priority this draft. And if you guys are watching, don't take him because that's my guy. Kerryon Johnson is going to absolutely break out this year. 5, Chris Godwin, wide receiver 2 next to Mike Evans. I love him. 6, Tyler Boyd, another guy Aiden Barrett loves. AJ Green, another really non-reliable player. I think that that offense are going to feature Tyler Boyd a lot, and I don't see why not. I think it's going to be a Juju type usage, and he's going to be a week in, week out flex option. Another top 5 priority I have in my draft. Okay, my extra notes. I have talked a lot in via direct message with you guys. A lot of you do standard, which I wasn't really thinking at first. So in a standard league, my wide receiver 1's going with Odell Beckham Jr. He's going to rack up touchdowns this year and yards, but most importantly touchdowns. David Njoku is not that physical specimen where they're going to target him like a Gronkowski would be targeted in the red zone. And Odell Beckham Jr.'s got the second best hands in the league next to DeAndre Hopkins. Did I say his name wrong? No, not DeAndre Hopkins. I'm getting him and Deshaun Watson confused. Baker throws touchdown passes. Number 1, Baker throws touchdown passes. 27 last year, and he didn't even start. That's a ridiculous season. He's going deep. Odell Beckham Jr. is his number 1. Landry's going to back him up. And then, Njoku's good offense. I love a good piece in that offense. I love the whole offense. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. I got high expectations for the Browns. But OBJ in a standard league, put them together. That's a great combination. I love him. He's my wide receiver 1 in standard leagues. Julio Jones. Huge breakout year for him. He's going to change the no touchdown narrative. They heard him. Dan Quinn heard you guys talking about no touchdown Julio Jones. He's going to break out this year, both leagues. I have him up there. I have him at my 7th wide receiver. That's a little low. I might have to change that right after I finish this. I love the guy. He's going to break out this year. Matt Ryan's going to have a career year. I could see another MVP year for Matt Ryan. Okay, got to scratch Tony Pollard off. I love him, but Zeke's back. No big deal. Also, huge for you guys that drafted Adam Thielen last year and saw him break out. I'm proud of you guys. It's a great draft pick. I didn't think about it, but it's over. Mike Zimmer just hired a new offensive coordinator, and he literally told the guy, I hired you because we're going to run the football. Dalvin Cook is going to get touches. Dalvin Cook's going to be a top 10 back at the end of the year if this guy stays healthy. Draft Dalvin Cook. Don't draft Adam Thielen until the later rounds. Simple as that. Okay, and my last extra note of the day. Oh, no, second to last. I'll say this one first. Kerryon Johnson. Like I said, Theo Riddick is gone. If you guys don't know who Theo Riddick is, he's a little stinker because he kind of screwed up my whole plan last year for fantasy. Theo Riddick is a receiving back who I despise at this point because he took away from Kerryon Johnson's potential. But now the dude's gone. He's gone. And Kerryon Johnson's got great hands. He's going to be the feature back. Not the feature back. He's going to be the number 1 back. He's going to get a ridiculous amount of touches. He's going to be the number 1 option out of the backfield as far as receiving goes. Huge breakout year. He's going to be running back 2 at the end of the year inside my top 15. And my last tip. I think I already said it. If I didn't, I'll say it again. Do not draft Melvin Gordon. I'm going to look right at it. Don't draft Melvin Gordon. I have no hope that he comes back. I have him inside my top 10 for running backs just because if he does come back, he's gonna perform in that way. But don't draft him. I know in my league, there's a 10 teams, there's a good chance that he falls to the waiver wire. I have a lot of very talented drafters in my league. That's saying a lot. I don't usually compliment other guys like that, but if he gets drafted in my league, I'm gonna be surprised. I'm staying away from him. I could see me picking him up in a waiver wire like sixth if I have the chance to. So that's basically this year. I think if you guys haven't drafted yet, you're gonna have a lot of fun looking at your team. I think everyone's gonna look at their team in the same way. They're gonna love it. I mean, I can't be more excited for this year. I really can't. This year is going to be a ridiculously good fantasy year. There's so many good players in offense. This is going to be the year of the offenses. Defenses are going to get smacked. The only defense I got faith in is the Bears. Khalil Mack is a beast. That's it from Downtown Sports, boys. August 28th, I have a draft at 9 p.m. I will be doing a draft. I'll be doing an IRL draft. I have a couple friends that I'll be down the shore in Ocean City. A couple guys will be drafting with me that are in my draft. It'll be a live thing. I'm not going to edit anything. We'll be literally talking while we draft. I'll have my big cheat sheet up. I'm going to release this in the next 1 or 2 days. And you know what, guys? Let's get ready for a good year. Pat's going back to the Super Bowl. Pats are winning it. It's going to be fun debating sports, guys. Hit the DM if you want to guess. Let's get it.